and welcome to F1oorOneTV. I'm Courtney.
And I'm Josh.
Wait, you're not Josh. Oh, there you are!
This is a special one-week message called I Have Questions.
I Have Questions is a series that is based on one important question that we think students our age are struggling with.
Today we are going to talk about arguing and how it affects our relationships and our lives.
Through group discussion, it's our hope that we can understand that the real win in an argument is to preserve the relationship with the other person even if we disagree with them.
Because when it comes to arguing, you never win an argument if you lose the relationship.
So before we talk through this as students, let's throw it over to Adam for a special message on the topic.
So no matter who you are, where you live, or what kind of personality you have probably experienced what it feels like to be in an argument. When I think about the different arguments that I've had in my life, I gotta be honest, the arguments are really few and far between. I am a people-pleasing kind of person, so I try to stay out of conflict and arguments. But I do remember the first argument that Elise and I had together, like our first really big argument. And it actually happened 2 years into our marriage. We had just had Amelia, and she was this little baby who, would get up late at night and get up early in the morning. And for whatever reason, it was just one of those weeks where we were just tired and exhausted from life, and then tired from just being parents of a new baby. And it was early in the morning, and Amelia was awake, and Elise and I were doing this thing where we kind of like were nudging each other back and forth with who was going to get up and get the baby. Long story short, the nudging turned into talking, turned into arguing, and then I had said something. I don't even remember what I said, but it was so bad that it made my wife so mad at me that she got up, she got Amelia, and then she started packing stuff. She was packing a bag to leave. She didn't even know where she was going to go. And we were actually talking about this a week ago, and she still doesn't remember where she was going to go and what she was going to do, because we only had one car at the time, so she just left me stranded. But that was the argument. And I think it's funny because everybody has a go-to style for arguing. And in the same way that everybody has a certain way that they like to argue, maybe you're a yeller, maybe you're somebody who likes to just be quiet and kind of push people out, or maybe you're somebody who has to go and get some exercise in, or maybe you're somebody that shuts the door to your room and you just put the headphones in and listen to music. The same way that everybody has a different way that they argue, we also have different things that we fight for. Every single one of us, we have these subjects that it doesn't matter where we're at, what's happening in our life. If you bring up this topic, we are going to throw down and we are going to talk through this. And it's not a stretch to understand that our world is full of arguments. I mean, the options of things to argue are endless. Just hang out on social media for 5 minutes and you're going to see all different kinds of opinions about all different kinds of things. And so when the world around you is in constant conflict, most people tend to do one of three things. And we kind of talked about the first one. We like to go straight to anger. We just get mad. We get mad at the people that we're arguing with. We get mad at the world that we're in. Sometimes we even get mad at people who aren't even really involved in our lives, but we just get angry. Sometimes I think we feel torn. We're angry, but we also want to handle it the right way, and we don't know how to really talk about our feelings. We don't know how to work through these things that we're going through, and then I think some of us, we just couldn't care less. Like we're just so over arguing, we're so over the things that we're going through that we just don't care. You see, when we really get involved in an argument, we honestly all just want one thing. We just want to win. We just want to win. We want to be on top of the argument. We want to walk away being the person that's right. And we all have a few tactics that we've practiced to help us win. Sometimes it's through yelling, sometimes it's through silence, sometimes it's through ghosting somebody and not responding to a text. Sometimes it's actually showing up to fight somebody, like physically fighting somebody. And sometimes it's way more subtle, way more mature, like talking to the person. Or it's talking about that person to everybody around you so they know what's wrong, and et cetera, and et cetera. The list goes on. And whether it's in our homes or social media or in the culture we observe around us, we are surrounded by big questions with big arguments for and against nearly everything. Like, this is the world that we live in, and even more so with the season that we've been in and the things that we're experiencing. And so with that in mind, at a time with unavoidable arguments, what are we supposed to do? I mean, how do we get better at arguing? So we're going to look at a passage from the book of James. James was the brother of Jesus, and he writes this letter to the churches. And what makes James so interesting is that he didn't grow up thinking that Jesus was the Son of God. He grew up thinking that Jesus was just his older brother. I mean, can you imagine the tension in James's life? You know, I imagine Jesus is one of those people growing up where obviously he was perfect because he was God, and you know, the comparisons that you play with your siblings where it feels like one sibling always does things better than the other sibling. I mean, you imagine being James growing up in a situation like that, and like, you know, it's annoying when you're young, but then when you become adults, it just gets kind of weird. And that's exactly what happened. Jesus went from being this really, you know, just good kid to being somebody that said he was God. And so much so that it started to draw all this negative attention, and it actually brought shame onto his family. There is a particular time in the scriptures where Jesus' family shows up and they're like, hey, you got to stop telling people that you're God. It's not just embarrassing and weird, but it's dangerous. And so what's so interesting about James, one of the reasons why I love him so much, is that he goes on in history to become one of the leaders of the church in Jerusalem. As a matter of fact, he gives his life for the gospel. How do you go from trying to tell your brother to stop telling people that you're God to giving your life for that same brother? Something must have happened, and we know that that something was Jesus was actually God, that he gave his life on the cross, that James and all the disciples, they witnessed his death, and then 3 days later he walked out of the grave and was alive. And so James, because of his relationship with Jesus, knows a thing or two about going through tough times in relationships. And in his letter to the church, James chapter 1 verse 9, he says this: my dear brothers and sisters, take note of this. Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. Now this is important, because it doesn't mean that we shouldn't speak at all. And it doesn't mean that we sit back and we take whatever someone throws at us. It means that we don't speak reactively. We pause, take a deep breath, and we compare our thoughts and our emotions before speaking. Listen, we all know what it's like to be quick to speak and quick to become angry. I mean, this is the reason why a lot of us get in problems. You know, oftentimes the people we're fighting with will matter far longer than the thing that we're arguing about. Think about that a second. The people that you're fighting with, they're going to matter far longer than the things that you're arguing about. So before you get so quick to just speak things out, you need to think about it. Because here's the truth. You never win an argument if you lose the relationship. So maybe instead of asking, how do I win the argument, maybe the better question we should be asking is, how do I win the relationship? You see, figuring out how to handle arguments or conflict or disagreements has been one of the hardest parts about being a mature human being. And we've been struggling with this since it seems like the beginning of civilization. And if you don't think that's true, just look at the struggles that kids have. It's the best example to show how hard it is to function as people. And unfortunately, as we get older, we just become kids in bigger bodies, and it seems like our arguments increase and the severity of the topics that we talk about increases. It's not easy to work through relationships. It's not easy to try to figure out how to argue the right way, and it's not easy to figure out how to win the relationships. But as we get ready to close this out and head over to the groups, I think there are a few tips that we can use to make this a little bit more possible. And I think the first is this. I think we just need to spend some time. We need to listen to each other. Like, actually stop talking so much and start listening. Listening to what the people that we're sharing life with cares about. Listen to the hurts that they're experiencing, even if they're going through things that we seem is not real and not true. And even if we're getting blamed for things that we feel like aren't true, that's not our fault, we should still pause and we should still take a moment. We should still hear their hearts. And then we should pause and we should pray. Like, prayer is a very powerful thing. It's important because it aligns us with God, but it realigns our hearts and our motives with God's hearts and motives. And so we should pause, taking in all the things that we've heard, and we should pray, and then we should be empathetic. We should empathize with the people that we're sharing life with. We should ask, how do they feel? How is what I'm about to say going to affect them? Even if I know that I'm right, and I know that they're wrong, is there a way we can go about this that we can still win the relationship? And after you've done those things, you've listened, you've paused, you've prayed, and you were empathetic, then speak. This is the whole point of what James is trying to say to us in that verse. Because here's the thing, you and I, we may not be able to change the way people behave when it comes to conflicts, arguing, or fighting, but we can change how we behave in those situations. And in those moments, we are not trying to win the argument. In those moments, we are trying to win the relationship. And at the end of the day, it's those relationships that are going to last far longer and have way more value than the things that we're trying to argue about today. So with that said, let's go ahead and throw it over to the groups and let's talk about how we can take this truth and apply it further in our lives.
So thank you, Adam, for the message. And this week is a special edition of group time. So we're going to take the message and apply it to our lives. So we're going to do introductions, and this is... I'm Cadence.
I'm Libby. I'm Courtney.
I'm Josh.
Now let's get into the first question. So what's the dumbest argument you've ever had? What made it a dumb argument?
Well, Libby and I work in the children's ministry area with the kindergartners, and a lot of the times it'll be like, no, you can't put the sticker on the other person's face, or something like that.
Yeah, it's
Lots of the arguments. Lots of, no, you can't put Play-Doh in your hair. You know,
Yeah.
a lot of arguments
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. I have that with because I also work upstairs in the kids ministry area. I have those questions with second graders of like, can I draw on the wall or something? I'm like, no. But, whatever.
I have those questions
can
with my
just do that.
12-year-old brother.
What's the dumbest argument you've ever gotten in with Cohen?
Oh, with Cohen? Oh man, I don't know. I know one time, there was one time, not really an argument, but it was like a fight, and I was playing like Trove, which is like this off-brand Minecraft game essentially, and for some reason he just came in and turned off my Xbox, and I was so mad at him, and we ended up like fighting or something, and then I think we spat in each other's rooms because we were just like, you're scum, and then he spat in my room first, and I spat in his room. And then since he's bigger and stronger and older than me, I ran in my room and locked the door. This was when I was like 16, by the way. And I locked my door, and then he ended up like putting a dent in my wooden door from punching it so hard. And then like 3 minutes later, we're like, what just happened? So.
Is his hand okay?
Yeah, no, he's fine. But yeah, that's pretty dumb.
So what's your go-to fighting style? Yelling, screaming,
Yelling, and then once I can't yell anymore because I know if I'll do, my mom will like kick me out of the house or something. I just like run into my room while slamming and stomping as loud as possible.
I also slam doors.
Pull down pants. Pull down pants. That's it, yep.
Although it's really funny is I can completely slam our door as hard as I can, and it'll still swing really hard, and then like 5 inches from the door frame, it'll like go.
Oh yeah, those kind of doors. I
Like,
remember that, yeah.
sometimes it's great because I don't get in trouble, but then other times it's really mad because it doesn't make the loud noise that
Yeah,
I
and you
really
have to like
want
go.
it to. Yeah, exactly.
I use
Did
my
that
words
before.
to mentally destroy my opponent.
No, I just yell. I
Yeah.
just yell at them. I yell at them and then I go lock myself.
Remind my brother of all the times he's been rejected.
So who do you get in the most arguments with? And why do you think there's some people you argue with more? My brother. That's the person I get in the most arguments with.
I argue with my sister. I think it's just because we live with them.
Yeah, it's like siblings. So
We see them more often. We know
They get
how
on
they
your nerves
truly
more often.
act.
I fight with Gabriel a lot. He's a very much not. What am I thinking of? It starts with a C. I forget the word. Not rude. Well, anyway, he's very easy to argue with, and he loves just making arguments. And it's just so hard to talk to him sometimes. But he's also my best friend, so I'm able to talk to him. But I just get in so many arguments with him, and I don't know why. He's some of the dumbest things. Can't win with him at all, ever.
why do we think we argue with people more?
I don't know, with siblings, we live with them all the time, so they get on our nerves more than like our
Anyone
friends
else,
do or whatever.
Well, and like you said, with your best friend, we spend a lot of time with them. We know how they truly are.
So, how have you seen your fighting style affect your relationship? It's ruined some of my friendships because I've yelled and like they just don't ever talk to me again. So that's one reason, I guess.
Okay. Yelling doesn't actually do anything.
No.
Yeah, you just lose friendships over it.
My fighting style just kind of hurts the other person's feelings when I'm not trying to.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh shoot. Because like what I kind of meant what I said, but I'm like, I probably shouldn't have said that either way. 'Cause
Yeah.
it's still kind of mean. And I'm like, I probably shouldn't have said that. And then
Yeah.
I apologize.
And a lot
Like the way you say it, it's just like
Yes.
Mhm.
That's a lot of times it's not, for me, it's not the words that I say, it's the way that I
Yeah.
say it.
Because like you're not purposely trying to hurt someone's feelings. You just are upset about it, so you just like
Yeah, you
Lash
just kind of
out.
laugh. Yeah,
that's
lash
the
out.
word. Can someone read James 1:19?
My dear brothers, take note of this. Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry.
Which one of these statements come naturally and which one does not?
I feel like I'm better at listening,
Mm-hmm.
but as soon as I'm done listening, then I'm like, yeah, well, and I just
Yes,
I
I'm
talk
the exact
about
same
it.
way. Normally
that's
I'm
fine.
pretty good at listening, but then if I'm mad, then I'll just completely tune out.
Don't want to listen. You're just
Yeah.
like, no, I'm not listening.
Yeah.
So you just
It gets harder to see the other person's point of view.
I don't really know which one. 'Cause I feel like I'm either like pretty solid on all of them or not. 'Cause I don't really know. Because I don't get angry quickly. I also listen pretty well, and I also don't speak a lot. So I don't know really what it is. I don't know. the
So
answer.
you're
Josh is like-
perfection. You're really good at all of them, and you're also really bad at all of them.
Not your perfect.
Yeah, you're either one of these.
50%.
50%.
50% on all of them.
So what's the difference between being slow to anger and letting people walk all over you?
Well, being slow to anger is just staying calm, collecting yourself. Having people walk all over you is just admitting defeat.
Uh-huh.
It's
You
like
don't-
not
like, you
putting
don't-
your side into it.
Yeah, you don't even try.
What boundaries do you need to put in place in order to argue in a healthier way?
Stay calm.
Yes.
That's a good one.
Don't yell.
It's
Watch
really
your words.
Wear belts.
What?
Okay.
Oh, that took me a second.
Yeah.
Dang.
Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Do the other one.
Yeah, absolutely. Just staying calm. I feel like that's
Yeah.
a really good thing.
Watching what you say.
Even
Think
if it
before
means,
you speak.
Yeah, even if it means biting your tongue, whether like actually biting your tongue or just kind of just holding your tongue. That's the word.
Yeah.
That's
There
the
we
phrase
go.
I'm looking for. Just even if it means that you're really angry and all the anger's building inside, try and settle yourself down and not let it spout and
Yeah.
lash out.
What does a healthy relationship look like after the argument?
You should still be friends. If
Yeah.
you solved the argument correctly, you found a solution that you both like, then you should still enjoy talking to the person.
Yeah.
You guys would still be friends, you'd still be talking, you wouldn't just like stop talking and then never talk to them again, or when you see them you just kind of like ignore them and walk past them or something. You would like talk to them, say hi or whatever.
Actually,
like that.
engage.
Yeah.
It should be the same as it was before in the argument.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If not better.
Exactly.
Yeah. So thank you guys, and thank you guys at home for participating. So now let's throw it over to Josh and Courtney for the outro.
Incredible job, everybody, and special thank you to everyone who participated at home.
Talking about tough issues like this can be really hard, and it's nice to get different perspectives.
It's our prayer this week that you would experience peace in your relationships at home and school as you better understand how to walk through arguments.
As always, you can stay connected to us through all of our social media outlets here, here, and here.
We're still meeting every Sunday at 6 o'clock at McDonough Park.
That's it for this week.
Thanks for hanging out with us, and we'll see you next time.